A ghost girl from Canton is an urban legend from the town of Canton in Pennsylvania about a dead girl who became a ghost. This sad story happened in Canton, Pennsylvania in the 1900th year. There was an old railway in Canton, on which trains did not travel often. One little girl decided that she was big enough and could ride her bike without adult supervision. When she got to the railway tracks, she decided that the sleepers were flat enough and she could ride on them. She was driving through them faster and faster when she heard a horn behind her. The girl turned around and at that moment ran over a stone and fell, hitting her knees painfully and crying. The horn sounded again, but this time it sounded closer. The train was approaching. The girl tried to get up, but her dress got stuck in the rails. She tried her best to pull it out, but she couldn't do anything. The girl noticed that the train was really very close to her. In desperation, she began to look around in the hope of finding something that would help her escape. She noticed a broken bottle on the ground next to the rails, grabbed it and started cutting the fabric of the dress. At the last moment, the dress tore, the train passed by, and the girl fell into a cave with water. The girl barely made it to safety alive, but she died anyway. They say that her moans can still be heard from that cave. And if you dare to go down into the cave at midnight, she will haunt you, asking you not to leave there. Devil's Alley is an urban legend from Mexico. This is the name of one of the streets or alleys in almost all Mexican cities. This legend is well known in Mexico, because almost every city has a street or alley that is called Devil's Alley or Devil's Alley, whichever you like. And almost every city tells the same story about the appearance of this street with different variations. There were times when there were no houses on this street. It was an alley where large trees grew, blocking the light with their branches. It was always dark in the alley, which is why people always had an unpleasant and disturbing feeling. Practically no one walked along this alley, because it was believed that it was cursed. There are evil spirits living there, which should not be disturbed. One day a young guy decided to take advantage of people's fear of this alley. In the evening, he broke into a city tavern and told everyone such a story. He was walking along the cursed alley. He was attacked by a strange monster who demanded to give him money and jewelry. The guy gave him everything he had, but the monster wasn't satisfied with that. Although he did not harm the guy, the following threat sounded from the monster's mouth. "If the people of this city don't leave me expensive gifts or jewelry as a tribute, I will kill them all and drag them to hell with me. All tribute should be collected by nightfall and left near the alley." In Taverna at that moment there was one brave man who volunteered to personally go to the alley and see that terrible creature. At night he went to the cursed alley. He walked boldly down the alley until he saw a dark figure on a tree. The man suddenly lost all his courage and felt fear take hold of him. His legs began to shake and it seemed that the earth was going out from under his feet and he was about to fall into hell. Then the man ran away as fast as he could, yelling, "The devil! The devil!" The residents of the city obediently collected tribute to the devil and left it near the alley. Some time has passed. One day two fishermen came to town and decided to have a drink at a local tavern. There they heard a story about the devil and how the tribute that the residents had collected disappeared the next morning. The fishermen thought about it and decided that there was something unclean in this case and it had to be dealt with. That same night, the fishermen decided to go to the cursed alley. One of them entered under the shade of the trees and came across a dark figure. But when the creature tried to speak, another more terrible monster with horns appeared behind it. The creature turned around and felt the heat coming from the horned monster. The monster from the alley was so scared that he ran away as fast as he could. While he was running, he still felt the burning in his ass from the fire of the horned devil and continuously screamed in pain. The horned devil turned out to be one of the fishermen, who put on a homemade costume, and the devil's fire turned out to be an ordinary burning brand, with which the fisherman drove the impudent monster from the alley. The next day, both fishermen returned to the alley and waited for darkness, but the creature never appeared in the alley again. There are several versions of what happened next. Some say that when the fisherman told people about what happened, everyone went to the house of the guy who invented the story about the devil. There was no one at his house. The guy disappeared somewhere, but all the money that was left at Devil's Alley was untouched. Some believe that he, having suffered fear, simply fled the city without even taking the loot. While others claim that the devil himself came for him and dragged him to hell for using his name to earn easy money. There are several more versions of the origin of the Devil's Alley Street in Mexico. Another legend claims that once there lived in the city an evil guy who robbed people passing through one of the alleys at night. He beat them and sometimes even killed and raped young girls who were not lucky enough to be in that place. One morning, people found his mutilated body in the middle of an alley. And everyone began to say that the devil himself came and killed him, punishing him for the crime. In some cities, it is believed that people engaged in witchcraft lived on this street. They performed rituals here to summon the devil. That is why one of the streets was named Devil's Alley. The Newburyport School is a school in the town of Newburyport, Massachusetts, where the ghost of a murdered boy has settled. Many years ago, there was a school for children from poor families in the town of Newburyport in Massachusetts. The school was crowded with special children with disabilities and problematic behavior. In those days, teachers were very strict and treated children very cruelly in order to maintain discipline. One day a boy was playing pranks in class. The teacher became enraged, beat the boy and locked him in the basement of the school. The boy sat there all day and other students were forbidden to pay attention to his moans and screams. When the school day ended, he was released and his friends helped him get home. But later, in the evening, the boy lost consciousness and died. The teacher did not bear any responsibility, and the boy's death was hushed up. A few years later, a new teacher appeared at the school, a young woman named Miss Perkins. Rumors spread around the school that a ghost had settled in the school building. One morning, when the students were reading morning prayer, the school began to shake from a deafening knock. Someone was knocking on the school door, but when Miss Perkins opened the door, there was no one on the street. Every day a mysterious yellow vapor appeared in the classroom and the cold air enveloped the school. Students and teachers began to feel bad, but tried not to pay attention to it. Sometimes there was a terrible children's laughter in the school. The lid of the wood stove suddenly soared into the air and fell to the floor with a loud crack. The bell on the teacher's desk also soared up and rang by itself, which was watched with horror by the students in the classroom. The cleaning lady at the school was so scared that she eventually refused to work there. One day during class, Miss Perkins called a student to the center of the class to read an excerpt from a book in front of the class. The child suddenly stumbled in the middle of a sentence and pointed to a hand that was floating in the air. The whole class was horrified to see a human figure gradually materialize from the hand. It was a boy with his hand raised. The ghost boy just stood there. His face and jaw were bandaged with a white cloth, as if his wounds were being bandaged. When Miss Perkins tried to touch him, he slowly disappeared in front of the whole class. Miss Perkins tried to calm the students down and said it was a hallucination, but the children were terrified. Supernatural incidents shattered the young teacher's nerves and undermined her health. She was fired and another teacher took her place. Inexplicably, the ghost ceased its activities and was no longer announced. Devil's Tower is a scary urban legend from New Jersey about a mysterious tower built in the Gothic style, which is rumored to be cursed. They say that if you go around it 6 times, the devil will appear. There is a large stone Gothic tower in the town of Alpine, New Jersey. Locals call it the Devil's Tower. According to legend, it was built in the early 1990s by a planter named Manuel Rionda. He built a large mansion for his wife, as well as a tower so that she could watch the horizon from a height. One day his wife was on the tower when she saw Manuel with another woman. The wife was so shocked that her husband was cheating on her that she immediately threw herself off the tower and crashed. Manuel was shocked by his wife's death and, feeling guilty for her death, he ordered the demolition of the house. The tower was also supposed to be demolished, but these plans had to be postponed after several workers died mysteriously. Manuel moved to another city, and the tower was simply locked up, and it remained abandoned for many years. Rumors spread that the tower was cursed. Many people claimed that they heard terrible sounds in it when they passed by. Others claimed to have seen the shadow of a female figure jumping from a tower and screaming. Years passed and the locals began to call the tower the Devil's Tower. No one has any doubt that she is cursed. There was a legend that if you walk around the tower 6 times at midnight, the devil will appear. The tower was chosen by Satanists, who began to gather under it and hold their masses and read prayers to the devil. They performed bloody rituals in which they sacrificed animals for the glory of the devil. During the day, children who walked near the tower found mutilated corpses of dogs and cats.